there's a way to be grateful for everything that's come from the hand of God. And then that brings us joy as we walk in the path that God has for us. Hi, I'm Mystie Winckler. Welcome to the Simply Convivial podcast. I'm a homemaker, homeschool mom of 5 with 3 graduates now and also 2 grandkids. Why do I call this podcast Simply Convivial? Well, convivial means enjoying life together. And isn't that the kind of hospitable atmosphere that we want, especially if we are homeschooling? With my blog, podcast, community, and books, my goal is to equip as many women as possible to become engaged, competent, cheerful Christian homemakers. We can have convivial homeschools when we start with ourselves, when we choose for ourselves those good things that we want to give to our children, because we have to model for them what it means to live well, to be happy, to love learning, and to obey God. So today I want to share with you a clip from our kickoff workshop earlier this year from the Art of Homeschooling class. This course is all about organizing our attitude as homeschool moms and putting in the right kind of work into our homeschools so that we can be happy and cheerful mothers doing good and effective work in our homes and for our children. This clip focuses on why and how moms can be happy even when there's a lot going on in the home. We don't have to calm everything down and make everything perfect so that we can be happy. We can be happy right in the middle of it all, and we really should be. So let's dig into becoming more happy even in the middle of homeschooling chaos. Grab a basket of laundry to fold and let's dig in. I've been listening to a couple books and having a couple conversations with a few different people, and it came together in my head thinking about how we can help ourselves be happier homeschool moms and how it's good for everyone when we are happy. And sometimes we think more about making our kids happy or working toward having them be happy, which is fine. But our own happiness shouldn't be found in whether or not another person is happy. Other people's happiness does affect us, but it doesn't have to. We can have self-control and we can have practices of our own to be the thermostat rather than the thermometer when it comes to happiness in our home. Regulating and promoting our own happiness isn't about getting our way in things or having everything be easy and pleasant. We can actually be happy even if things are hard and not pleasant. Happiness doesn't have to be sourced in the circumstances and whether or not everyone's doing what we want them to do. That's really just another way of having our happiness placed in other people's actions, their happiness or whatever. But if we are, and I think of this as the classic analogy, the thermostat versus thermometer. So a thermometer just gives off a reading. It reacts or responds to the ambient temperature, right? So it's reactive. It is where it is because of its surrounding. So it's only reflecting the temperature around it. Whereas a thermostat is setting the temperature. So it has, okay, this is where the temperature should be. And now it is bringing the temperature in the whole room up to that point or down to that point in the summer. Right now, we think of the temperature being up because I'm cold. It's snowing outside. So if we want the temperature to be higher, then actually complaining and whining and excusing ourselves because the situation's not allowing that is the temperature isn't what we want it to be. That's the behavior of a thermometer where it's not productive. You can notice and become aware, but then complaining or excusing or wallowing is not changing anything. It's making things worse, never better. Whereas a thermostat, when it notices that the temperature is not what it should be, it kicks into action and it raises the temperature. And to say, I don't care what the circumstances are right now. We're doing something about it. Let's get a few more of those degrees around here. And that is what it's like when we are monitoring and controlling and developing our own happiness, because it isn't just about us. When we are the atmosphere of our home, that's a part of a woman's role, actually. That's like what she's designed to be, the atmosphere of her home, the very heart of the home. And so our attitude, our happiness, our joy, or any of the opposites of those changes everyone else around us. Because really, our kids aren't made to be thermostats yet. It's not their job to be a thermostat, but it is our job as moms. And we really are thermostats, like it or not. So we might be acting as if we're thermometers when we're actually thermostats. That's a broken thermostat, and nothing's getting better if the thermostat is broken. If all your thermostat can do is tell you the actual temperature, things are not going to go well until you get a repairman in, right? And so it's the same with us. And so we have to be able to marshal those degrees and kick them out and emanate them. Think of the happiness degrees and bringing them up in the house. If things are, the temperature is not what it should be, we have to recognize that we are responsible for that. And it's something that we can do something about, not by bossing or commanding, but by radiating. We have to think about ourselves, and we clearly aren't putting out enough degrees to warm the place up. And so, how do we do that? How do we have the happiness, the joy inside ourselves such that it overflows and spills out and raises everyone's happiness quota? That's where I think some of the issues over self-care type, that those kind of conversations really come from, because the self-care activities are about increasing our contentment and joy. And there's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that. And everyone's using the terminology from different points of view. And so if you're thinking about, oh, I need to put me first for me to be whatever, and I have to pamper myself before I can pamper other people. And actually, no one needs any pampering. Pampering is not good for anyone. That's not healthy. But self-care doesn't mean pampering. Some people use it to mean self-indulgence or pampering, and that doesn't mean that it has to. And we do have to care for ourselves because we are finite creatures and human creatures. And we also have to, because we are that center of the home. And so we can, I think of it more like we can live rightly and hold that standard in the center but our standard in ourselves that we are living out isn't one of rigid rules that we command ourselves and command others. And it's all this kind of ice or rigid where everyone's in straitjackets, or the law or the rules is a straitjacket kind of a thing. Really, living rightly is living joyfully. And so the standard in the center is joy. That's the way we should be living ourselves, and the mode we should be living in. And then that attracts others and builds up. There were a few different ways I was thinking about taking this, but things like noticing the small beauty or taking small enjoyment is so important. And so that's one of the kind of, I think, in the pampering marketing world that really wants to push women into like just spending money and staying unhappy. I think that's my beef, is that there's a lot of marketing out there that actually wants women to stay unhappy and ineffective, but give them money. And they use a self-care model or language to to keep women trapped. But there is always a kernel of truth. They're always using truth to manipulate you. If you're being manipulated, it's because there's something true in there. And the true thing is that your body and your person does need care, and you are supposed to be happy. So let's just figure out then, how are we going to get there? What's the right way to get there? One way we ought to be increasing and pursuing our own happiness, and then we're modeling this for our children, is appreciating little things in life. And appreciating little things is the path to appreciating big things. It doesn't work the other way around. It works from little to big. He who takes care of his little will be given much. And this, we know that God delights in his creation. And so God's delighting in the little things. And we are imitating him when we do. So we should notice our bag that we like. We should appreciate the soft sweater when we put it on. We can put something up on the wall, and then when we pass by, say, "Oh, I like that." Noticing the world around us is reflecting the image of God. And we're happy when we are living with our design, with our purpose. So if our purpose is to glorify God and enjoy him forever, that means enjoyment is a part of our purpose. And we enjoy God by enjoying a direct relationship with him, of course, and by worshiping corporately in his church every Sunday, but also by enjoying the creation and the created goods that he has given us, walking in gratitude in little things, and then extending that out to the big things. Yes, Don says, when I see birds on the bird feeder, it brings me little bits of joy as I watch them flock to our house. And we're having dominion by providing a bit of sustenance for them in the snow. That's taking delight in the same way that God takes delight. Because he made all those things, right? He made things even so small that we can't even notice them. But he is delighting in the world that he made, all the way down to the minutia. And so that means nothing should be beneath our notice. There's a way to be grateful for everything that's come from the hand of God. And then that brings us joy as we walk in the path that God has for us. And then we're modeling that for our children too. But we have to actually live it ourselves, because that's not a way of living life that you can just tell someone to do. It has to be a way of life that's picked up. That doesn't mean that those of us who never saw it done have no hope, but it's going to be a long process. And so we can expect it to be a process for our children too, that they will develop in themselves on their own time frame because they are seeing it lived out around them. Not, here, I'm going to tell you what to do, and then you're going to do it, and then voila, right? That's not the way created organic life organisms develop or grow or mature or anything. It all is a process. And when we start from a place of living in our own purpose with happiness and joy, then the fact that it's taking the other people around us a little bit longer to pick up on that and learn it themselves, we're fine with that, right? Because we're not dependent on them for our happiness. And we can just keep ratcheting up those degrees that we are radiating, but we have the degrees. We're full. So we're spilling out to those around us, but we aren't demanding that they be full instantly. And it's just a part of the process and part of our job to help them in this development process. And we recognize that it is a process and that's okay. We don't have to have success right out of the gates. Want even more homeschool encouragement to stay the course and be happy at home? Well, I have a free workshop coming up this Friday called Order and Atmosphere, and I would love for you to come. You can also find the replay if you're watching this later, but this workshop is going to be all about homeschool routines and rhythms and how to implement them without being frustrated and discouraged when our plans don't work the way that we wanted them to. We don't have to give in to discouragement. We can stay the radiating, joyful atmosphere of our home even when our best laid plans do not go the way that we wanted them to go. So join me for this free workshop. Just go to simplyconvivial.com/refresh. That's simplyconvivial.com/refresh, or find the link in the description on this episode and join me for this free workshop called Order and Atmosphere: Homeschool Habits for Peace. I want to help you to repent, rejoice, repeat this school year.